nigga 2 for the dope, these other niggas.
Yo, welcome to the Powerplay Podcast, where we like to demonstrate the value in everyday casual conversation. I'm your boy, Mighty Boy the GOAT. I got my brother with me as always, Jock Talk J Lock. And today we have a very special guest, you know what I mean, author and book developer, Miss KF Johnson. How you doing today?
Good. How you guys doing?
We're doing great. We're
Blessed.
doing great. Very blessed.
Very
I'm
blessed.
glad to have you on. You know what I
Glad
mean?
to
We
be
met you
on.
at the 3 of a Kind red carpet, and soon to be coming to your red carpet event, you know, with you doing
Can't
things
wait
with
for
Miss
that.
Celeste. So hopefully
That's
we can definitely
right.
attend that as well. And it was a pleasure. It was an absolute pleasure meeting you. And we had to
Thank
have you
you.
on so we can get into, you know, your story and your journey for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I mean, I want to dive right in. You're from Queens, New York, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Originally,
Born and
right? Right.
raised.
Born and
Mhm.
raised. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And then you made that transition to Atlanta, and
Yeah.
now you
I came
reside there
to
as well.
Atlanta for school, for college. I got into Spelman College, and so
Okay,
I
all
came
right,
down for school, and
all right.
then I never left. I mean, I still go back to New York a lot, but I made my home here.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So just to back up a little bit and dive into your upbringing in Queens, like what was that like growing up in Queens at the time?
I grew up in, I want to say it's like lower middle class neighborhood. My
Okay.
parents still together. I have 2 older sisters. We lived on, you know who Mark Jackson is? They used to play for the Knicks.
Yes.
Yeah, we lived on Mark Jackson's block.
Okay.
And like
Wow.
Escalade, you might have heard of Escalade. Escalade is
Yeah, we heard of
Mark
Yeah.
Escalade.
Jackson's
Yeah,
Yeah.
younger
yeah.
brother. Yeah, Troy.
Right.
That
Right.
was
Yeah.
one of my homeboys there. We lived on that block,
Escalade was
right?
nice. Not to cut you off.
Yes,
Escalade was
he
nice.
was.
R.I.P. Escalade. Yeah,
Yeah,
Escalade was
yeah.
nice.
So I
Sure.
grew up in that neighborhood. Simone LL's wife lived on the other side of my block, like, you know, in that neighborhood. So I mean, it was a good neighborhood, but you know, we had a little crime, we had a little, you know, something. So
Right.
you know, I used to get put on punishment a lot because my parents was trying to keep me from being with the bad element. They didn't want me to go off the block or be up the street, and I would be out after the street lights all the time. I would be off the block all the time. So I was
Okay.
constantly getting put on punishment.
That's good. Yeah. I
Hanging out.
done did a time or two on punishment myself, so I know how that is. I know how that is.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yes, I
that
have.
led to me. I mean, reading was always a thing. Like they used to take us to the
Mm.
library. That was like fun, like a trip to the library and pick
Yeah.
out books and stuff. So I was always an avid reader. But
Mm.
being on punishment a lot, I got to develop writing and drawing. Like I got into Spelman on an art scholarship. So that goes to show you how much
Wow.
punishment I was literally on.
Right, right.
I
So
was
you
doing all
Wow.
that. So, you know, I developed a lot of those passions on both sides. I got really creative. I couldn't go outside. I couldn't be on the phone. So I would play with my Barbie dolls and, you know, make up little stories in my head. I was watching soap operas
Wow.
earlier in the days, you know, that
right,
they would develop those stories then. And so I just developed a writing bug.
right. So and that helped give you that creative process to actually, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
create the story that you know coming up with today. That's amazing.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't
Well,
know. My
my sisters are 7 and 10 years older than me. So it's
uh-huh.
almost like being an only child. I mean, they still would entertain me, but in general, the age gap was different. So
Right.
I had to like play by myself in the house a lot.
Mhm.
You know what I
Got you.
mean? So
Got you.
I learned to develop a lot of creativity myself.
Awesome. Awesome. That's amazing.
I know you say you got on punishment, so you used to create your own stories, but what really drew that inspiration? What really drew you into writing books and creating great stories?
I think not only being an avid reader, I used to just watch a lot of television. Like my imagination used to just be all over the place. Like I said, because I was so much younger than my sisters, like I had to develop a lot of that stuff on my own. I couldn't go off the block. I couldn't do a lot of other things. So I just developed a really big imagination. And when I read, even now, I always read a lot of books, like different genres. I would try to copy my sisters a lot, right? So they would read like Stephen King, but they would also read like serial killers. But then there's, the Valley Stream books, you know what I mean? So I went from reading like kids' books to reading all kinds of like horror to reading true crime to reading Black
Right.
Panther books,
The variety.
to reading,
Yeah.
Alice Walker, things like that. So my genres were so extreme that I just developed an imagination about a lot of things. And I would just make up stories for my Barbies to play. They'd have a lot of drama. So somebody's cheating, somebody's getting kicked out the house. Because I used to watch soap operas with my
Yeah.
godmother when she used to
Mm-hmm.
babysit me. So
Mm-hmm.
I'd have a lot of soap operas. So in my books now, they're romantic suspense and thrillers because it's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
romance, it's a lot of suspense, but there's always a little, dirt nap that wasn't expected. And it's always,
Yeah. Yeah.
some divisive behavior. And I think that's because of my eclectic exposure to everything that just, goes in my head like that.
Right. So all those creative processes just kind of gelled, and then you became the
Hmm.
empress of
Yeah,
romantic,
yeah.
you
And
know what I mean,
even,
suspense
my
and
first
murder novels.
I found a book when I was at my parents' because my parents still live in the house that I grew up in. And
Mm-hmm.
I found like a story that I wrote when I was probably 9 or something. And it was about a squirrel family trying to cross the street. And
Mm-hmm.
some of them were getting hit by cars. So, like, even back then, I was still having like a little murder suspense, in my
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
stories. Even the
Right.
squirrel family couldn't make it out alive, in New York.
Yeah. 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 Amazing. So I actually started, doing music early on as well. And so with doing music and trying to structure, what I'm saying, writing songs and doing things like that, I would have a certain way of doing it where I would be going throughout my day, and I was young doing it. So whether I was in school or wherever I was at, I would just write down not full sentences, just words
Mm.
that rhyme, right? So
Mhm.
whatever would come to my mind as an idea, it would be kind of broken, and then I would write it, and then later on that day, I would try to complete that thought and that idea. What for you, what is the process like? What was your early on process for, like, you know what I mean, coming up with your writing skills and writing and putting it into, story format? Because a lot of times you can write different things, right? But doesn't always come out, you know what I mean, full and in full length of story. So what was some of those practices that you used?
So ironically, I know it doesn't seem like this, but I used to be a rapper, right? Back
Okay.
in the 90s. I
All
almost
right.
got
You
signed by
gotta spit
Tommy
some
Boy
bars.
Records.
Yeah.
You gotta spit
Yes.
some
I need
bars.
to
I
hear
gotta
this.
hear it.
I gotta
See,
hear this.
well, I'll tell you what, they're actually on my YouTube. Like if you look on my YouTube
All
channel,
right.
you can actually find them
Most definitely.
here.
We're gonna drop a clip in here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't rap anymore. I know to hang it up, but I was more like I want to say like a Eve style rapper. Like I was a battle
Okay.
rapper. I used to win freestyle
Mm,
contests against guys back then,
okay.
and
Okay.
Tommy
Okay.
Boy Records almost signed me. But
Okay.
so
Nice.
I've always been lyrical. Like I used to write poetry, and back in the day, I'm older. I'm 50. I'll be 53 next month. So
All right.
the things that I used to write, I used to like write them over like the B side of like Eric B and Rakim's,
Got you.
beats and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So
Right.
I've always been lyrical like that. So I think my writing process for books has just been, well, now I type, like, everything is typed now in documents and stuff like that. But before I used to just write anytime, like whatever I was thinking. Even now, I have like a file that just has different ideas. I have all kinds of ways to kill people if I don't have a specific storyline, but I have thought up a way to murder somebody,
Wow.
or I
Wow.
have thought up like, if something were to happen to my husband right now, I would be the number one suspect because my Google searches are crazy.
It's crazy, crazy.
Yeah, I have a bachelor's in psychology, right? So, because when
Uh-huh. Awesome.
I
Yep.
wanted to learn from reading all those serial killer books and all those things like that as a child.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to school, even though the original path I wanted to take was for art and drama, I changed it to psychology because I had like a fear of being attacked, right, from reading all those things. So I
Mm,
wanted to
Mm,
get into the psychology of why people did those things so I could learn to
mm,
avoid those kind of people. And
mhm.
what that did was that helped me to develop my characters now when I write,
Right.
because nobody is just what you see. Like a killer is not just a killer. Like they kill
yeah.
because to them there's a reason
Mhm.
behind that.
Yeah.
So it helped me with my character development to make characters into real people and to have real background stories as to why they do things. So that's something that I pulled from from all the different, because I've done so many things. I like to say I'm a jack of all trades, master of nothing yet, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I've done
Yeah.
so many things. I used to acted in a few things. I used to do a lot of things. So I have exposure in a lot of areas. And although I didn't grow up in the element of, the drug streets level like that, but it
Mhm.
was around me though. I knew a
Yeah.
lot of those people. My parents sheltered me from that. My dad was a captain at Rikers Island Prison in New York.
Mm.
So he
Okay.
was not about to let his daughter
Understandable.
be in these
Understandable.
streets.
Mhm.
Yeah, and my mom, she was a lieutenant for the traffic department. So my parents were not about that for us. Although we were exposed to a lot of things, we kind of learned to avoid it, or
Mhm.
that wasn't the path we wanted to take, but I still learned it. You know what I mean? I still had friends that were involved in it. My best friend might have been dating this dude, this corner dude, whatever the
Mhm.
case may be.
Mhm.
So all of those things helped to develop how I came up with characters and where I would write it. And I would just I keep like a little file even now of anything. If I watch the ID network and I see that somebody got off in a certain way, I'll Google that drug. Like, what? What do you do with that? And then
Right.
put
Yeah.
that
Right.
in there. If I come up with
No.
a title for a book, I'm gonna put that in there. If I come up with the storyline, anything that hits me, I just save it.
Yeah. Yeah. Just drawing
Wow.
inspiration from all different type of resources. That's amazing. That's awesome.
That's
Yeah.
creative.
That's creative.
And that was gonna be like my next question. Like, how do you lock in to stay consistent and this create all this magic? Because you say you watching TV shows, something you reading, or different things that you think about, and you already then had scenarios that you already pre-planned. So how do you stay locked in and be consistent with all these storytelling for all your books and the books to come?
I I don't actually. I have a book that I have been writing that I'm supposed to have had out already. I'm a little behind in it.
Mm.
I've put out like 8 books since I became an author in 2012, or published author in 2012. And I've put out a book probably every couple of years or so. But since COVID, I actually put out a couple of books during COVID, but since then, I've just been so swamped with so many things. I still work a full-time job. So, with that, my kids just got grown enough that I don't have to monitor them. They're now in their 20s.
Yeah,
So I don't, my oldest just graduated from Morehouse in May. So I have one more to go,
that's lovely.
and then I'll be able to focus, solely. But a lot of family things just started happening throughout the time, and it just made it really difficult to, when you're writing, you have to be creative. You have to be in that
Yeah.
space. And now that I do have readers that follow me, and my books have made its mark in some places, I've been nominated for a couple of awards, that I'm very self-critical now. So I want to put out something. I want to make sure that my fans enjoy it, and I want to be proud of it. So it's really
Absolutely.
hard for me to finish something right now.
Well, I mean, just staying locked in is hard, but when you love something, you know what I mean? It just kind of is what it is, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? You
I
just
mean,
kind
it
of grow through it.
will, but I think
Yeah.
because, you guys know that the movie is coming out, that was the
Yeah.
next step that I took. So
Mm.
that has kind of pushed me finishing my book off a little bit.
Mhm.
I'm still writing it, but when I took the step to decide to, escalate, and I try to advance every couple of years. I try to do
Oh,
something outside of what I'm
Good
comfortable
Lord.
with, and invest in myself. It's really hard to bet on yourself sometimes. And
yeah.
so I've been trying to make myself do that as I get older, because I'm only getting older, right? I'm not,
Yeah.
I can't get that time back. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
when I took that leap, that was in 2024. We filmed this movie in 2024.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where my focus has been in trying to make sure that all ducks are in a row for when this movie does come out. And so that's kind of what I've been doing, like making sure that I'm getting my brand in position for when this comes out, making sure all my ducks in a row. So when we do our premieres, that I'm going to be on par. Like I want to be on the same level as what the expectations would be for anybody who has a movie release.
Absolutely. We can't wait. We can't wait. We ready. Walk me through earlier on, in your book writing processes and getting published and getting into the publishing industry. What walk me through that? Was that difficult for you being, you know what I mean, an African American female author?
So I have probably the craziest story that I became an author. So I didn't intend to be an author. It happened by accident. I mean, so I was turning 40 that particular year, and my husband, who was then my boyfriend, was like, "Hey, what happened to that book you were writing?" Because I let him read some of my book while I was in the process of writing it. And I was like, nothing. I just stopped writing it. And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, "Well, why didn't you ever, get it published like that?" What I remember, it was really good. And I was like, "Yeah, I just never finished it." So he was like, "You should let other people read it." And when you hit a new milestone in age, sometimes you start looking back on things you didn't accomplish, and you're like, "Let me do something."
Right.
So what my intent was to I have a lot of Morehouse and Spelman friends and my family and stuff on Facebook. Mind you, this is 2012. So I was like, I'm going to put a PDF on Facebook and say, "Hey guys, it's my book. Read it if you want." Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't figure out how to do that. I mean, I later found out that you can't put a PDF on Facebook,
Yeah.
but I didn't know that. So I Googled it and I saw Kindle, but I had never heard of ebooks at that time. To
Mm-hmm.
me, Amazon was like eBay. It was just
Right.
another
Right.
place around. I didn't know ebooks existed. I only had paperbacks at the time. And so I was like, "Oh, I can make it electronic." Oh, okay, that's what it is. So I looked at the guidelines to do it. I put my hand in some ketchup, put that print on my garage door, took a picture, named my book Behind Closed Doors,
Mm-hmm.
and did a PowerPoint book cover and uploaded it. And then I told my friends, "Hey, I've got a book on Amazon. If you guys want to read it, it's there." I had no idea that other people outside of the people I told would read my book. I did not
Right.
know that it was open to everybody on it. And mind you, it's not like I promoted it or anything. So I had no reason to believe that anyone other than the people I told would ever see it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what happened
Yeah.
is it took off.
Yes, it did.
I think what happened was because of how many of my friends started looking at it and maybe was putting it in people's carts. You know how it tells you like someone so
Yeah.
read this, also read this or something
Right.
like that?
Right.
Mhm.
So before I knew it, like within 2.5 weeks, I think, it was number one in the genre.
Number
And I was
one.
like, "What's happening?" And my friends were like, "So are these real people? And like, who is this? And when's
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
sequel coming?" But what
Mm-hmm.
happened is I never finished it. I just left it at a cliffhanger, but it was because I never finished it. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
an intentional cliffhanger. I just didn't finish it. So they wanted to know what happened next. And I was like, "You care?" And they're like, "Yeah, what happened next?" And
Mm-hmm.
before I knew it, podcasters and other people who had book shows were contacting me like, "Hey, you want to come on our shows? We read your book and it's really good." And I was so like shocked,
Yeah.
but I was so happy. And so I have a master's in business. So my first thought was, let me Google and find out what I'm supposed to do. Like if I
Right.
had actually done this the right way, like what am I supposed to be doing?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So I did that and then I started like talking to certain people in the industry and I got a couple of mentors and started finding out what I should be doing and realized that I had a lot of typos, but at the time I didn't care because I thought it was just my
Yeah.
friends. But
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
once I realized real people were looking at it or other people, I took it
Yeah.
down, got it re-edited, and
Yeah.
changed my book cover and did a bunch of other things as time went on. And then before I knew it, it was time for the sequel, and that just started my journey. People started following me, and I started doing book events, and book clubs were featuring my book. And I've just been learning ever since. I just decided not to go the publishing route. I actually had a couple of offers for some publishers to be a part
Yeah.
of their team. But I just opted not to because although it maybe would have given me more exposure, it wouldn't have given me enough control. And because I
Mm-hmm.
don't have, or I don't always have the right schedule, I don't like the fear of them being able to stop my book from doing something or stop me from doing something.
Yeah.
So I just learned from the best and start learning from different ways how to do things myself. I developed my own website. That website that you see, I did that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I recently got it revamped and got a little help because it's been like almost 12, 13 years now. So
Yeah.
I got that
Awesome.
redeveloped. But I just learned how to do a lot. I know how to make book covers now. I know how to make ads. I know how to
You
promote
doing your
myself.
thing,
Yeah. That's
sis. You
amazing.
doing your
That's
thing.
amazing for sure.
You
Absolutely.
definitely do your thing. So you speak about behind closed doors. I definitely want to dive into that a little bit. It definitely goes into, secrets, it betrayal, power. Talk about where you was in your mindset to create that book.
So I was just working a lot of jobs. I was right after I got out of college, and it was kind of loosely based on different relationships that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a particular relationship, you know how you just have one that you keep spinning the block with over and
Okay.
over.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
particular guy that I used to just keep spinning that block. And I made him like the main focus of that. I changed the names for most of the people in the book except
Gotcha.
one guy that I don't like, and I intentionally put his name in there. But I just, I pulled it from a lot of my own experiences, and then I just,
Man.
just enhanced it and made things happen that never really happened. People got killed, and
Right. Right.
Yeah.
there were
Yeah.
stalkers and all kinds of other things
Right.
within there. So I just made it more cinematic, but
Yeah.
a lot of the character development and the backgrounds of them were based on real people, or I pulled from people that I knew, and some of my own insecurities, like things that I knew that I maybe did that wasn't
Yeah.
great, or didn't put me in the best light. I worked those into my characters.
Awesome. Awesome. Would you say that that's more, I wouldn't want to say easier, but more authentic to do it that way versus just trying to create just out of, thin air, but using your own experiences or experiences close to you?
Think it is always easier to pull some from something that you know,
Mm-hmm.
because for me, one of the things that is very important to me in all my books is realism. I am an avid movie watcher, reader, everything. So I'm really critical of things when it's like, oh, that doesn't make sense, or that's a HIPAA violation. They would never do that, those kind
Mm-hmm.
of things, because I've worked in so many fields. Like I've worked in medical, I've worked in all these things. So I like realism. So for me, even if I'm pulling from something I know nothing about, I will research it first
Mm-hmm.
so that I can bring the most authenticity. Like I've had scenes where people have been shot or stabbed. Well, I've never been shot or stabbed, right? So I not only Googled it, but I asked people that I knew that have been shot or stabbed and asked them like what it felt like, what happened, were you in the hospital, what did you have to do, how long were you there, so that when I'm writing, I can make that authentic, because
Right.
I feel like
Right.
when people are watching, people are from everywhere. So when you're
Mm-hmm.
watching or when you're reading my book, you might have experienced certain things. And if it's not authentic, that will change how you view it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not you're going to give it a 5-star or 4-star, because that one piece that you related to was not realistic for you.
Right. And it's so easy to fall out of that being authentic. I mean, when me and bro started this podcast, is one of the things that we definitely wanted to do was be ourselves, right? Because obviously
Yeah.
we want to appeal to whatever audience that takes us and has us, and so
Right.
we want to be ourselves at all times. But society, a lot of times you look at it and you say, man, I don't, maybe we should do this, or maybe we should say it like this. But overall, I think for what you just said and what you spoke on and how we feel as well, we
Mm-hmm.
commend you on that, because we feel the same way. Like it's about being authentic. It has to be
Yeah.
authentic.
Yeah.
If it's not authentic, if it's not us, if it's not me, if it's not Jay,
It ain't gonna
it
work.
ain't gonna work. You know what I mean? So
Right.
we definitely
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
that.
Because I feel like no matter what walks of life my characters will be in, there will always be. For one of the things that I try to make is I want people to relate to my characters,
Hmm.
right? Because I didn't grow up in all I didn't have a lot of drug dealers or a lot of whatever in my life. There might be some characters that are there, but a lot of my characters are just everyday working people. Like so and so will be an office manager for something. So and so will be a medical billing assistant for somewhere. So and so will be an accountant. Somewhere there, I try to give them jobs that you would see in your everyday life that you can
Right.
relate
Yeah.
to.
Right.
That everybody doesn't have to be a basketball player or a hair salon owner. I mean, there are some, in my books, but the ones that you're accustomed to seeing and everything, I try to make them have more expansive jobs so that everything doesn't seem repetitive. I know that nothing is new under the sun, but you still you want your books to resonate with people, and I don't want them to read them and be like, "Oh, this is just like this book," or "This
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
I read this, or I read that." I make a concerted effort to make my books as realistic and authentic because to me, the best scares, even though I don't write horror yet, I do plan on writing horror, but the best scares or the things that resonate the most are the things that people feel like could actually happen. So
Yes.
when my characters do crazy stuff, please believe I have researched it. No,
Yeah.
I have not actually killed anyone to do it, but I have acted it out. Like I
Yeah.
literally choreograph like the stuff that I had put them to do. I will literally get up and choreograph like, okay, so if he comes around here and I do that, okay, this works.
Yeah.
That doesn't work
Wow.
because
Yeah.
I want to be when I
That's
watch this
crazy.
movie, I want to be like,
That's cool.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yes, that's
I
cool.
ain't no killer, but don't push me.
Right, right. I mean, it's not a lot of well, it depends on which book you read. That sometimes there's more killing than others, but but there's also a lot of love, it's a lot of romance,
Right.
and I try
Right.
to make them a little witty. I like to think I'm a little funny sometimes, so I try to put a
Most
little
definitely.
wit, in there to make it a fun read for people as
Yeah.
well.
Absolutely.
But you got people out there that loves that type of
Mhm.
that storytelling, that love horror.
Mhm.
Halloween is my favorite holiday, so I like all the horror. I like all the killing. I
Listen, if
like
you
all the
look on my
gore.
page or
Yeah.
any of my pages, you will
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
that we just went to Netherworld. That's one of the biggest haunted houses
Mhm.
here in Georgia. We just did that. I love Halloween. So you
Yeah.
might
That's my
even see
favorite.
look, I don't know if you can see this Freddy
Uh.
Krueger right there on the
Yeah.
table. You
Yeah.
see him?
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
my favorite.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
We
Halloween is my favorite.
Halloween is definitely
Yeah,
fun. Have
yeah.
definitely fun. You do a lot of vlogging too, right? So you definitely
No,
no.
I'm not good at vlogging. I,
I
I post little shorts. I post like little shorts,
okay.
little
We'll
clips.
we'll say a little shorts. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll say
I
shorts.
don't know. Scared to I'm scared to be too personal. Like I
Yeah.
am an extrovert. I don't know if there's such thing as an
Yeah.
introverted extrovert, but
Mhm.
I feel like I'm both. Like I can just talk about random stuff real easily, but when it comes to my personal stuff, I kind of keep that close to my
Keep it
chest a
close.
little
I
bit,
got you. Got you. What's entertaining though? I definitely on your IG and in the shorts that you write and say and do, they definitely
Yeah,
entertaining. So I don't know. Maybe there is
good.
a little vlogging on the way. Maybe I
Celeste
don't
keeps
know.
trying to get me to do that.
I
She says that I
mean,
need to.
listen,
Definitely need
it's
to.
worth it. It's worth it for
Maybe,
sure.
maybe I'll
Yeah,
get a little more comfortable and do it. I've been getting out of
absolutely,
my comfort zone a lot lately, so maybe I'll try that.
absolutely.
Every story has a different meaning and they have a different title.
Mhm.
How do you come up with the titles to the book? Like, where do you draw those inspirations from? Is it what's going on in the story, or like how do you come up with the titles?
It just depends. Like I said, I have a list. I actually have a list of very like titles that I love that I've already developed in my head, like a storyline for those, and I've set them there. The first title is actually what started how I develop my titles now because when I published it, obviously I had no idea. I had not Googled it. It never dawned on me that there's 8 gabillion books called Behind Closed Doors, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which is not good usually. But I
Yeah.
mean, it could have helped me because there are other books that maybe people thought my book was another book when they got it,
Yeah.
is what I thought about.
Yeah.
So I don't
Yeah.
know. But I've made sure that all of my books going forward, either there was, at the time that I published it, there was no other book with that name because you can't
Mhm.
copyright a book title.
No.
Unfortunately, it could be a,
Yeah.
a million books with the same title. So I
Yeah.
made sure that it would not be the same. And then I tried to make sure that it kind of resonated with what what was happening in the book so that it would make sense. Now, What I Do for Love actually is based on a poem that I wrote when I was in college. I was in a writing class and they asked us to come up with a poem that was different. And that's all they said. They didn't give us any guidelines. And that's right up my
Wow.
genre. Right? That's right up my
Yeah.
alley right there. Because I don't like to be like everybody else. So I started my poem off all sweet and all nice. Like I don't know if I memorized this poem, but it's something like the sweetest of sweets, the depths of infinity, or something like that. And it was all sweet and it sounded all rosy. And before you knew it, it was like nothing can save you from the noose that hung you from above your chair. And then it was a whole twist, and it was basically about a woman who found out her husband
Yeah.
cheated on her and she killed him. And
Listen,
so,
My God.
listen.
and it was called What I Do for Love. And
Gotcha.
My
that is the
God.
poem that is going to be right before in the movie. That's the poem that's going to show right before the movie plays, because
That's
Yeah.
dope.
that's what this book was based off of.
Yeah.
What happened is, like, in 2016, because that's when I wrote the book. In
Mm.
2016, I was going through my old stuff. So every now and then I'll go look at like old things from school or whatever. And I came
Yeah.
across that poem. And I was like, this would be a good book now that I was officially an
Mhm.
author, right?
Mhm.
I was like, this
Yeah.
would be a good book. And so I thought up a story that would go along with that poem. And that's how I came up with it. And this is actually a 2-book series. I had a part 2. When I
Wow.
finished part 1, this is back when I was still on Twitter, and Twitter was really good.
Yeah.
And at
Mhm.
the end of the book, it told the readers to vote if they wanted something to happen that would have made a sequel, or if they wanted it to end. And I want to say 90 something percent said they wanted a sequel.
Yeah.
That's
So
amazing.
Yeah.
That
ended
was
up doing
amazing.
the
Yeah.
sequel.
What was that? What was that crowd like when you know what I'm saying? Because you say you started all rosy and then it just went like what was that? What was that crowd experience like when you did that? Like how did they respond to that?
I mean, well, they published it in the Spelman
Wait,
newspaper.
there it is.
Yeah,
And
it
I
is.
think maybe that rush is something that made me keep it. It made
Right.
me
Right.
think about it. And actually, whenever I give the pitch for this book, it gets the same reaction. At book events, people who have not heard of me before, when they see the book and they hear what it's about, they're like, "Ooh, let me get that. What? This
Uh-huh.
is what it
Yeah.
is."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
people like a little,
Mm-hmm.
they like a little diabolical.
Like a little diabolical. You're
Hmm.
real diabolical.
I want to touch on something that we talk about earlier when we first started. I asked you about consistency, and I know you said you're not really consistent, but I think you are, because a lot of people write one book. You wrote 8, and you still going. So I still say you are consistent, and I want to give you your flowers and let you know, keep going.
Thank you.
We see the word. I actually know people who told me about some of your books, and it was like, this is the one I read. This is the one I'm going to read next. So keep
Absolutely.
Love
going. You
that.
do
Sure.
got, and it's coming from Florida. So we waiting in Florida and got people reading your book. So
Listen,
keep
you
going.
see how
Can't
big you
wait.
got this smile right
Yeah,
now?
I'm
Like,
dead
that's
Keep
serious.
it.
great.
Keep
I'm
it. Hold your
dead
head high,
serious.
Queen, because
I'm
you definitely
dead
do your
serious.
thing for sure.
Yes, you are
Sure.
doing your thing, and I'm telling you, my auntie was the one that told me, "Hey, Tiffany's story.
Yeah.
Read this one."
Yep.
I read this
Yeah.
one, and I'm like,
Shout out
hold on,
Auntie.
yeah, I only know about these two. She was like, no, she definitely got some up on her sleeve. So
Love that. You
Yeah.
gotta let me
definitely,
know
I
where
got
she's
you.
at. I'll give her an
I got
autographed
you.
copy. I appreciate
I
that.
got
Absolutely.
You
you.
tell her
I
what she
got you.
wants.
I got you.
Yeah, yeah. I
That's
mean, and I
real.
definitely plan on writing more. I do have a plan to write a horror book. Like, and I actually have a book cover and everything for it. My alter ego name is gonna be Maya Mayhem, and it's gonna
Oh.
be
Okay.
horror.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because I love
yeah,
horror. That's one of
I do
my
yeah.
too.
my
I gotta
I
genres.
do
read that.
too.
That's
You
my
know.
Yeah, I do
thing. I
too.
can't wait for that.
I do
That's
too.
my thing. I love
A
horror.
lot of
Yep.
gore in there. Make sure it's a lot
I
of gore in
told you,
there and a lot of
Halloween is my
yeah,
favorite holiday. So I
Yeah.
I'm into the scariness. I'm into the gore. That's my thing.
for sure.
It trickles over into why I have thrillers and romantic suspense, because I do love that as well.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so critical of horror movies because I watch them all the time. I love them. and my husband loves them, and we got the kids loving them.
Yeah.
For us, it's a big deal. So for me, I want to write a horror book, and I want to make it, from the Black perspective, and because we don't do
Yeah.
everything everybody does, but
Right.
I want
No,
it to
Right.
we
be
don't.
realistic too. I want it
Yeah.
to, that's always my biggest something to be great. And then I'm like, oh, why do you make them do that? Like they wouldn't have did that. Who runs back
Yeah.
upstairs? Like, come
Right.
on.
Right. 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 Yep.
Yeah, I want to do that, and I want to write
Can't
it,
wait.
and I want people to be like, because I follow a lot of Black horror, like Brandon Massey. I think he's a great author.
Yeah.
Black, he's a Black author that does
Mm-hmm.
horror. So
Yes.
I look at other authors and I look at what they do. That I still read avidly, and I'm
Right.
still just as much of a book reader as I am an author. And so I want to make sure that my books are up to par. That they can hold their own. With these same authors.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's absolutely amazing. So I want to kind of just dive back to your mentality of that number one, when you got that number one in your genre out of Amazon's top 100, not 10, not 5, Amazon's top 100. Speak on how that made you feel. Speak on that moment. Speak on when you received that information. Like, where were you at in your thought process at that moment?
It was like the biggest validation of my talent that I ever felt as far as an author. I mean, I had, some accolades from school teachers and like at Spelman, like with that poem and some
Mhm.
things, I always felt like I was a good writer, but I never wasn't that confident in my writing. And to see that, especially as an independent author, and at the time, I mean, not even really an independent author because I had no like sites. I didn't realize I was published, right? I just thought I didn't look at it that way initially, but to have that level of validation from a bunch of people who did not know me, so they weren't obviously giving me accolades because they were my friends. It was people that did not know me that thought it was good. I was just ecstatic. I was like, wow, like that's what made me really want to delve in and do it the right way and
Absolutely.
do things better. But it made me feel so good, to feel like, oh wow, I have a talent. Like, I mean, because I've had a number of different talents, but that was some validation that I was not expecting and didn't even know existed. I didn't even know there was an Amazon top 100 until
Yeah.
someone told
Right.
me actually.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So and I've reached up there and over different books have reached up there. Actually, What I Do for Love was on the top 100 a couple of times
Mm.
too. But still, it's nothing like that initial validation to say, oh, like what Sally Field said back in the day. They like me. They really like me.
They really do. They really do. It's well deserved, Queen, for sure.
Thank you.
Out of all the books you wrote, what has been one of the top books that people come up to you and rave about, or which character do they rave about the most?
Well, I want to. Well, because What I Do for Love has gotten so popular, that's definitely one of them. Because Greer is a menace, right?
Yeah.
She's definitely a force to reckon with, and she does a lot of wild things. So you definitely
Yeah.
talk about her. And then Brian in Behind Closed Doors, he's like a handsome villain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's basically the guy they love to hate, right? They come up to me and they love it. And I actually gave him a spinoff in 2020, just a
Yeah.
little novella for that because people hate him, but they love to hate him and they love to
Yeah.
talk smack about him. I guess of those, those are the top two that people talk about the most because they are the most villainous of
Yeah.
my characters.
Most definitely.
There are
Yes.
crazy ones, but I want to say they talk about When I'm Bad, I'm Better a lot. Four cousins in that,
Yeah.
and they each have a lot of crazy things happening. I make a effort to put things that are realistic but are different. Like, so I try
Yeah.
to make them come up with essentially if I wasn't afraid of jail, like I would be terrible on the street. You know what I mean?
We
Because the
got to
things
dive
I
into that.
think
What
of
you
to
mean by
do.
that now? What you mean
Yeah,
by
the
that?
things I think of. I mean, I did a few like ridiculous things when I was in school or in love.
Okay.
None of
Okay.
them would have put me in jail per se.
The flatten the
But if
tire or
I
two
brought
or something like that, huh? You know, I mean, I'm trying to
all the
gauge what you're
cords,
saying when you know.
cut all the cords off of all the electronics in somebody's house one time.
Oh Lord,
Uh,
no,
you know,
I can't use my tablet.
Oh,
No, see, that's you know.
not the tablet, the
you know,
computer,
and then
the
you plug
desktop.
the cord back in so they don't know what the problem is because it still look plugged in.
Yeah, you can't use the
Okay,
toaster,
Can't
yeah,
figure it
see,
out.
the air
yeah,
Yeah,
fryer.
yeah. See,
yeah,
yeah. Remove all the
not
bags off the
murder,
earrings. That's what you
My
gonna be, see,
God,
yeah.
yeah.
my
Oh
But
God,
man,
I
boy.
boy.
mean, it's fun to me. Those characters are probably the best or the most fun to write
Sure.
because I can expand my imagination
Yeah,
like so far, just make them come up with crazy things. And it's even more fun to come up with the other side of that because whoever they're doing it to, like typically you're rooting for the other side, right? You're rooting for the person that's on the side of right.
Right.
So I don't usually let the villain be the winner, except in what I do for love because it's based on
yeah,
the villain,
yeah,
It's
her
based on
yeah.
the
story.
bill.
It's definitely
And I
based on
write
the
in the
villain.
first person. So all of my books, the characters are narrating for themselves. So you get to see, I think the most fun for me in writing is you get to see how they feel, like their take. So whether they're
Mm-hmm.
the good character or they're the bad character, you're getting how they see things. So that's fun to me because I can make them say wild stuff because they're like, they're talking smack about this person that they're going to do, and you get to see
Right.
both sides.
Man, oh man, oh man. So I mean, and we spoke earlier about another queen because you're a queen in your own right, and we
Thank
value
Definitely.
you.
you and we giving you your
Thank
flowers. But you
you.
spoke about another queen that is a mutual friend of ours, Celeste.
Uh-huh.
How did you link up with Celeste, and how did you guys decide to bring these movies to the forefront?
So I was scrolling Instagram and I saw her video and I just went to her page. At the time, I was thinking about trying to turn one of my books into a movie. I had
Mhm.
already had a basic script, right? You know who Zane is? Author
Yes,
Zane.
yes.
Hmm.
So her and her daughter helped me with the script
Okay.
initially for it in 2020, like right around COVID. And so I had been thinking about shopping it. She was going to see about trying to develop it for me, but the budget she was talking about was completely out of my range and I
Right.
didn't want to sell it, right? Because as an author, you really don't make much money on your script once you sell it. You maybe will make whatever you sell it for, but as far as once the movie comes out, you maybe would make 1 or 2% on that, if anything, depending on
Mhm.
how you sold it. And for me, I felt like the blood, sweat, and tears I put into it, like, no, you know
Yeah,
what
it's
I
worth
mean?
more.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
do it myself.
yeah.
So I was just looking and I saw her talk about a new movie that she had coming out. And I saw when I was looking at her stuff that she was also a former author. And I was like, ooh, I bet I could ask her some questions. That was my initial reason for contacting her. So I
Mhm.
DM'd her and I said, hey, I'm an author. I'm thinking about trying to get one of my books published into a movie. And I was just wondering if I could maybe ask you a few questions. And she was like, sure. So we exchanged information and then we talked on the phone and she was like, well, send me the script. Let me just see what you're talking about and see if this is a movie that I would do. And I was like, okay, because I didn't really know what was needed. I was totally
Mhm.
Yeah,
green to the whole thing. So she read it and she was like, girl, I need to make this movie. Like I want to make this
Right.
movie. This
That's
this is
awesome. That's
good.
yeah.
She didn't read the whole thing. She just read like the first 10 pages. And she
yeah,
said that that's the industry norm. Like they read the first 10.
yeah,
Is it good or not? That tells them if they're gonna
yeah,
get it. And
Right.
the more we talked about it, the more I was like in my head, I'm an accountant in my daytime job.
yeah,
And you see what I'm talking about? This jack of all
yeah,
trades, master of
Y-
none,
Yeah.
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 degree in psychology, master in business. I'm an accountant.
Killing it.
None
Killing
of
it.
it has anything to
Keep
do with
doing your
each other.
thing.
You
It do.
killing it. You killing
At
it.
the end of the day, it will.
Yeah.
It all gonna line
That's
up.
all that mean. You
Yeah, that
killing it. That
all
mean
all different places
yeah.
add up. But but so I'm good with money. So I was like, let me think about, if I could do this, my finances myself. Because
Yeah.
I could have asked for people, investors and stuff, but that means you gotta give a piece, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
didn't want to do it. So the more I talked to her, and she's also from New York. So
Mm-hmm.
we connected on that. We connected
Yeah.
on being Black women. We
Yes.
connected
Yeah.
on being mothers. We
Yeah.
connected
Yeah.
on our like rigid kind of ways of doing things, being a little alpha. We're kind of alpha females. And we just vibed immediately. And I trusted her. I felt like the way we vibed, I felt like I could trust her, which was really
Yeah.
difficult for me to do. But within 2 months, we were filming. We started talking
Amazing.
we started talking in
Wow.
July. We were filming in September.
Wow.
And now here we are, about to actually just talked to her today. We're hoping for first quarter 2026 is when it'll be coming out. What
Amazing,
I do
man.
for
Wow.
love.
What I do for love. What
Wow.
I do for
That's gonna
love.
be that's
Shout
Yeah.
gonna
out
be
to you
good.
and Celeste, man. Y'all are doing
That's
y'all
gonna be
thing,
good.
queens. For real.
That's gonna be
That's
good.
amazing. That's
Listen,
amazing.
she's phenomenal. And to
Yeah.
see her at work, like I was on the set every day because, like I said, I want things to be authentic, right? And
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
when you make a movie, what you cannot, most books, unless they're novellas, most books are way longer
Mm-hmm.
than a 2-hour movie, right? That's why you see a lot of books being made into television series now.
Yeah.
Because if you look at an audiobook for any book, typically they're between 6 and 16 hours. Right. And so you can't cram all of that into a 2-hour movie. So
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
have to change it. And so because of that, I ended up, and I learned screenwriting in college, but I did not write the script for this originally. I ended up having to totally rewrite the whole script myself because I
Mm.
had to make it so that it would go into a 2-hour movie because the script that I had it
It's
just
too
did
hard.
not fit what
Right.
Yeah.
we had to do. So I had to, make it all condensed into a 2-hour version. So there are some changes, but because I'm the one who did it, I made sure that everything that was important and everything that
Right.
made the book what it was in there.
Was in there.
When you're on the set, things happen and go wrong sometimes. If I had not been there and I had not been the person, because if, a lot of people, once they let the director have it, any changes that need to be made, they let the director do that.
Right.
I
Right.
couldn't do that because she doesn't know what happened in the sequel, right? So if you
Yeah.
make a certain
Yeah.
change, that could change, what it would have done, and the readers would see the difference. So some things that happened on the set that I had to change the script right there and had to make it so that it would still make sense because
Yeah.
that's my thing, make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
mean, it was the best experience. It was also the scariest experience. It's probably the most money outside of my wedding that I have spent on anything that was important to me.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Amazing.
Where do you think the readers connect with you the most? Is it the drama? Is it the love? Is it just the storytelling? Where you think that they connect with you the most? Cause you do got some fans. I want you to know that you do got some fans.
It's in the imperfections. It's in the character imperfections because I try to make everybody flawed because we all are. There's nobody is, even if he's going to be your book bay or whatever, he's going to have some flaws.
Mm-hmm.
I have flaws, you have flaws, so I don't want to give anybody perfection in any character. So I think people see themselves in the imperfections in people. Even if you'll see somebody be a boss bitch and you like, girl, that's me. I'm a boss bitch all day. You still
Mm-hmm.
gonna understand that when she goes home, she's still sad that, her boyfriend was cheating on her and now she had to break up with
Mm-hmm.
him and start
Yeah.
all over. You know what I mean?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
I think that that's where they connect the most. And I think what they enjoy the most is that a lot of them get revenge or they get avenged, when something
Yep.
happened, because, or at least apologies. There's some way that people get pulled out, at least of your faves. Maybe not everybody, but at least of your faves in there, at the end of the day, everybody is healed in some kind of way. They find someone to help them heal that, or they find healing in their own. I try to, nobody likes a love story where nobody's in love, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I try to make sure that there is a love story within there somewhere, because if it's multiple characters, everybody ain't gonna find love, okay?
Right.
But
Right.
at least one, maybe two,
Yeah.
will have that love because you want to have some joy. It's not, I've never heard of a book being thought of as great where I've never seen a movie or heard of a book where, nobody gets what they want at the end and the people are happy. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like when you
Right.
finish the book, you feel disappointed.
Yep. Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So,
I
I
think
try
that's
to,
the best way to do it.
yeah, yeah, you gotta make somebody gotta have happiness in there. It doesn't have to be a happy ending, but it's gotta be
Yeah.
happiness in there. And then people gotta resonate with the fact that realistically we're going to be flawed. We're gonna make bad decisions. We're gonna maybe say some things we wish we didn't.
What are some advice points that you would give to up and coming authors or even people that are even wanting to get into film, whatever? What would be in this industry in general? What would be some advice you would give to up and coming people?
Well, because it's been so long since I've had to get in the industry, it's so many things that have changed that I'm even getting acclimated to. Because when I first started, like people didn't really see you as much, right? They didn't really
Right.
know your face. You know what I'm saying? People were used to seeing authors on the back of a book cover, and now being a little more exposed, like I've run into people at the store or I've run into people at the airport, and they're like, "Hey," and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh."
Mm-hmm.
And either it's because they read my book or because they've seen me on social media and they followed certain things and like, I follow you on, Facebook or whatever. I would say, you know, understand that you're going to be exposed. That is part of it now. Whereas before you could be an author and be anonymous or still have your privacy. But now, in order to promote, in order to get people on board, this is a social media world and they expect to see you and they expect to know something about you. Even if you don't want to tell your whole life or whatever, you have to be someone that they can speak to or relate to. Excuse me, in some way. You have to be able to talk to people and let people in because you can't expect people these days to purchase your books if you're like, I don't talk to anybody, I don't want to do anything. It's just not going to fare well because everybody likes to talk now and they're going to
Yeah.
post how they feel about it. If someone feels like they got slighted, they're going to post that. I
Yeah.
met Author KF Johnson and she was nasty to me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And even though she was in the bathroom or on the stall and I was trying to ask her a question through the door, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's how they
She
going.
was
That's how they
nasty.
coming. Especially after this
She was
movie, they gonna
Right.
be
nasty.
coming every way. Definitely,
Yeah, yeah. So I would
definitely.
say, just make sure that you are open. Just treat people how you want to be treated, essentially. Because
Absolutely.
I'm a reader myself, and I've been excited to meet other authors. Luckily, I have been treated nicely and kindly by each of the authors
Mm-hmm.
that I have met that I was excited to meet. But some aren't always nice. So I would say, make sure that you are going to treat people how you want to be treated. And as for your craft, do the best you can. Get a good editor. Make sure that you like research what works for your genre as far as book covers and all those things because I fell into it. I just learned as I was going. So some things fit, some things didn't. Some things I do better now than I did before. But if you have all those tools up front, you can hit the ground running. As soon as you could
Absolutely.
do better from the door.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
What
Beautifully said.
what would be one thing you would tell your old self?
That I'm doing now that I would tell
Yeah.
myself to do then. Learn to promote. That's probably the hardest thing for me right now, the marketing portion of it. Even though I know that people do like my books and I know that I am proud of my books, it's still very hard for me to try to say, "Hey, come read my book. It's really good." Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard for me to do that, but it's a necessary evil in a lot of cases. Even if I was with a big publishing company and stuff, they still require you to do some marketing on your own. So, I would say learn to do that, especially if you can get these niches together. There's a lot of content creators that tell you different ways to do certain things. If
Mm-hmm.
you can get on board with that, you can get people to buy your books without even really knowing what they're about. Or you could be brand new, they've never read. You can have your first book
Wow.
and get a lot of sales just based on the fact that what you have put out has made people want to buy your book. So I would say, learn the marketing. I mean, you definitely want to make sure that the material you give is worth it, right? But if you can't promote it, nobody's going to read it. I mean, I got lucky because people read my books, but there are also so many authors who keep saying, "How do I get people to read my book?" Like, nobody knows my books are out there, especially as an indie author. Like, I'm so lucky as an independent author to have reached enough people to be nominated for an award, to have
That's
reached enough
amazing.
people to even be at this stage where I can have a movie produced where people have read my books, because there are, and no exaggeration, there's probably like a billion people who put out a book every day, right? Or
Uh-huh.
every other day. And how do you reach your audience? How do you know how to reach your audience? So that's something that you have to do, or else you've written a book that nobody's reading. Nobody but your
Right.
friends and family, right? And
Right.
Amazon and everything is way harder now than it was before. The way
Right.
stuff used to go was a lot easier. The algorithms were easier. Now they're intentionally harder because they want you to pay to promote
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And I think you guys mentioned earlier, like as a Black author or a Black female author, like our genres are suppressed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the big marketing, when they have a way for you to market your material, it doesn't really allow you to select your genre, right? To, make it into like Black households. You have to
Hmm.
do the entire thing, which
Right.
is different. You need your niche. So it is a
Yeah.
little harder if you are not doing self-help. Like if you're doing fiction, fiction is harder. Nonfiction, people resonate with that based on whatever your topic is because
Right.
it's personal. But when it's fiction, they have so many to choose from, and it's so much harder to get out there if you don't already have some kind of team or some way of mastering your marketing.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I can definitely see where that could be difficult too. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? For sure, for sure. What would you say? What differs you in the way that you connect with your audience and the way that you approach your stories? What differentiates you from other authors?
I would say just my personality. Like, sometimes I could be too loud. I'm from New York. I could probably be a little too harsh maybe.
Mm,
Or I could be loving and I could be funny and I could be sweet. So it just depends on, the day of the week. And so I feel like I try to just be myself. I try to be authentic. One thing people always gonna get from me is a laugh. Like either I'm laughing or you laughing or we laughing together. It's gonna
mhm,
be gonna
Right.
be some laughs in there because I do try to bring some joy no matter what the topic is. And I try to be helpful now that as I'm older and I know a little more and have a little more under my belt. Now I try to be a little more helpful to authors who are up and coming and try to give a little bit of knowledge because I don't understand why anybody would try to hold things tight to the chest. I mean, there's enough readers for everyone. Like just because I read
Right.
so and so's book doesn't mean I can't read this one's book, right?
Right.
So I
Right.
don't
It's about that
understand.
support.
Yeah, I don't
Right.
understand people being like that. And so I'm always open to that. When I think up stuff, I even do author tips on my social media pages. And I'll say,
Mm-hmm.
like, 3 things that I learned, at book events or, stuff like that. Because there are things that I wish people told me, things that I wish I knew. I probably would be a lot further in my career and I would have made less mistakes if people had told me certain things or been more helpful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you on that. The space that we're in, all of us collectively, the attention span of the consumers is so small. You know what I mean? That there is room for everybody to
It
get
is.
creative and get your product out there and for them to love everybody's product. We don't need to gatekeep or
Right.
keep anything away from each other. We can literally coexist, all of us in the same space.
It
But
don't cost nothing to support.
and support each other
Exactly.
exactly. And so it's
It's
just
not a competition to be an author. I mean,
nah,
I can have a whole lot of different favorite authors. There's
right.
Yeah.
nothing that says I can't read a whole bunch of books. Like I said, even as an author myself, I still will promote other authors. I'll be
Right.
like, "Oh, I read this book and it was really good."
Mm,
That doesn't mean that the person that's looking at that is not going to read my books. That just means
Yeah.
I'm telling them this another book that's also good. Unless they're going to die tomorrow, they got time.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
For sure,
Definitely.
for sure. Well, listen, we want to dive into a few segments with you if we can before we let you go.
Okay.
This has been an amazing
Thank you guys for
podcast.
having me.
We got KF
Johnson in the
Johnson
building,
in the
man.
building.
In case y'all didn't know, and don't play with her because she cutting all the electrical in the house.
You know it.
Y'all know what time it is.
All right. You gonna see the tires. You gonna see that car sitting on bricks.
You know what I mean? You go to plug in that laptop, it ain't coming on. Let you know
It
now.
ain't coming on. It's dead.
It's dead. So
Blinking.
our first segment we like to get into, we like to call it press play. And our press play segment is we like to give flowers to a song and or artist, and in your case, a book or author, a movie that is hot right now or popping right now. So what would you say you are pressing play on?
Music is Cardi.
Okay.
So,
See,
And I
you
hate
know
to
what?
say it because, Nikki is a Queens
I was
girl.
just finna ask you, Cardi over Nicki, because you from Queen. I was
listen,
just finna get into that. I was
have
finna get
loved
you.
a lot of Nicki music, and
Okay.
and but they both from New York, so I've loved them both. I've loved a lot of Nicki music, but she was so out of line with this last thing she was doing.
Yeah,
I can't do it. I gotta.
saying that.
Right.
I can't
right.
do it. I gotta
Definitely put
do
an asterisk by her
pretty
name.
and petty right now. I gotta.
Right. Right. Which one would you say embodies NY the most? Right? Can we agree that they both are the top female artists of New York?
They definitely are. I feel like Nicki crossed over into pop for a lot
Mhm.
of her stuff. And she, she's made a lot of leeway that previous rap females didn't. And like I said, as a woman rapping myself,
Yeah. We're gonna do a
no,
song
I
together
do
in a
look
minute.
at that. But I feel like Cardi embodies what I think people outside of New York think New York is like. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because like Nicki changes her vernacular, and she's gonna present based on her environment what she feels like. Cardi is gonna just be like, listen, what's up, this
Yeah.
and that. She's gonna just
She
roll
definitely
it.
gonna pop
you
it.
know.
She definitely gonna pop it.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
sure.
You gonna think of Cardi in the bodega. You know what I'm saying? She's
yeah,
a roundaway
yeah,
girl, jingling
Yeah.
ears. Nicki used to be that, not
Yeah.
that any longer, right? So I think people outside of New York would think that Cardi is everything. Now, everybody may have a choice about who they like or
Yeah.
dislike, but I mean, right now I'm Team Cardi. That's
what it is. So we
what
pressing
it is.
play
Cardi
on Cardi
outside,
B.
bro. Credit it
Yeah.
all. She
Yeah, she
outside.
outside.
Yeah.
She outside. Definitely outside. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean? Stephon did had a good game today. So,
My God.
So listen, our next segment we want to get into, we like to call the power play segment. And in the power play segment, we like to highlight an individual and or individuals that are making power plays. And that could be sports, that could be entrepreneurship, and we love black owned businesses. And so before we get into our black owned business that we have, we want to definitely give you your flowers again, because we have to. You, KF Johnson, let you know
Yes.
you are doing your thing, Queen. We want you to continue
Yeah.
doing your thing. This movie
Keep
is going to be
going.
so fire.
Can't wait.
The books that you're coming out with, they're so fire. Everything that you do is just fire, and we're blessed to have you in this space and doing what you're doing. So we really appreciate you. We want to give you those flowers today here on
Definitely.
Powerplay Podcast, for sure.
Thank
for
you
sure, for
so
sure.
much. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
Absolutely.
You're
And
welcome.
with that, we have Refreshing Bubble Laundromat Service, Miss Sasha Jackson. She has self-service. She does drop-off, wash, and fold clothes, pickup and deliveries. She even got senior services. So if you need any laundromat services done, it's in the Kissimmee, Florida area. You know what I mean?
Kissimmee, Florida.
She do her thing. I want y'all to please support. If you're in the area, please support, for sure. Definitely.
What's up? Do your thing, miss.
Absolutely.
Do you have anybody you wanna give a shout out to that's black owned business, up and coming entrepreneur, just doing their thing?
I wish I had thought of this in advance. I do, but I can't remember the exact name of his place. Let's see. Anybody that's on the up and coming.
A black owned business, or just any business, anybody that's just out here you feel
Yeah,
like.
you know what? I have a friend named Brian McDaniel. He has a business called The Artist Spot.
Okay.
It is like a studio here in Atlanta. You can go and they do like photography there.
Oh, awesome.
And also it's a recording booth in there.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
And they also have like a little event center too, I think. So yeah, it's called the Artist Spot.
Okay.
That's amazing.
I'm
That's
definitely
amazing. Shout
I'm
out to
definitely
you.
gonna check that out.
For sure. For sure. Shout out to you. And our last segment we like to get into is a special one to us. It's called our empowerment segment. And in our empowerment segment, we like to uplift, motivate, inspire, and empower. And we want to create that safe space to do so. So could you leave our audience with some empowering words?
So there's a saying that I go by. If you always do what you've always done, you'll never get what you've never got.
Mm.
So essentially, you have to take a risk in life. You have to take a risk on yourself in order to achieve any goals. You know, you fail 100% of the risks you never took, right? You've got to try. I mean, of course, within reason, don't be ridiculous and just do crazy things, you know, prepare and budget or look up things, but take a risk on yourself because tomorrow's not promised.
Absolutely. Beautifully spoken. Last one before we let you go. I love to get into mental health and asking the question of mental health and how is your mental health? And I like to grade it in stages of three. Three being I'm wonderful, I'm great, everything's marvelous. Two being I'm all right, I could be better, or one being is concerning.
Maybe 2-5. I'm very optimistic about what 2026 has for me. So even though I feel like it's a little bit of a struggle to try to get so many things that I have on my plate done, you know, books complete. I have another audio book that I need to complete. You know, the movie is coming. That's anxiety because that's a whole new realm for me. You know, still, I'm optimistic. So I'm just trying to enjoy all of the things that are happening for me and try to be optimistic that all of the struggles I'm going through right now or any of the anxiety that I have about the things that I have to do, I'm trying to look at that as a plus that I even have those worries, right? Because I could maybe not have any books in the works. I could maybe not have a project on the way out. So I'm just trying to look at it that way and just trying to manage. I take a health day when I can. I take a day off of work and try to relax and sleep and not, you know, do all the different things. Cause, you know, you have family. My parents are elderly. My parents are in their 90s. Um, so, you know, I worry about that. I worry about all kinds of things. I have relatives that are ill. You know, you have a lot of things coming at you in different ways. But I just try to, you know, I try to look forward with grace and hope that, you know, that God is shining down on me and that, you know, the outlook is going to be positive.
Another one. This has been another one where we surely appreciate you coming on our platform. I
Thank
mean,
you.
you said it earlier in the show, you know, you a jack of all trades, a master of none, but you are a queen
Yes,
through it all.
none
And we
yet.
definitely want to step on that.
None yet.
None yet,
None
none
yet.
yet, but you are a queen through it all. And we definitely
Thank
want to
you.
implement that and have that highlighted for this episode because we are with KF Johnson. New
Well, this
movie
has been a
Hey,
working
pleasure,
out,
guys.
coming on the way.
I can't wait to see you guys at the movie premiere for mine
Absolutely, we
coming
coming
out.
out. You know what I mean?
we
And
go.
and and and,
You
and,
ain't even
and,
got
if,
to
and
worry
if we
about it.
and if we have inspired you to create a film with two podcasters that just go around and just whacking stuff, we would love to be the catalyst for that. You know what I mean? So
One of y'all might have to be a stalker, but it
I'm
can happen.
listen,
Hey,
listen.
whatever.
I lay in the bushes. It's all good. I lay in the bushes.
If I gotta work at Kmart or Target or something, I'm there.
We there. We there. But for real, Miss KF Johnson, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining our platform. This has been the Powerplay Podcast. I'm your boy, Mighty Boy the GOAT. I got my brother with me as always, Drop Talk J Lock, and we just rock with the Queen, KF Johnson.
You
Love.
better
Thank
go get
you.
them books.
Go
If you
get
don't
them
get
books.
them books, she in your bushes.
Right. Love.
Thank you for having me.
So, yo, thank y'all for tuning in to the Powerplay Podcast on the Powerplay channel. But please, 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 before y'all proceed, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe,
and make that bell ding, ring that bell.